Let's get to it. Let's get to it. Let's get involved. The marathon don't stop. Rob Kenner. The marathon don't stop. Fit World, what up? What's going on? I know we was bike riding today. Looks like it was a beautiful day. Talk to me. How we doing? Fit World, we got to it today? What y'all did? We Talking Magazine. Let's go. They pin this. Let's get involved. How we doing? How we doing, y'all? Camera right. We got that camera angle right. How we doing this? How we doing this? How we doing this? How we doing this? There we go. There we go. So what we doing? We got the book. Marathon Don't Stop. We're giving away a free book to listeners. We'll figure it out. We Talking Magazine. What's going down? Rob Kenner, the Marathon Don't Stop. We're giving away a book to 2 people in the audience. Let's see what's shaking and moving. You know we ready. We know we ready. I had this book in my hand. You know what I mean? I feel like it's gonna be a read along. Let's get to it. Hip hop point of view literature. We Talking Magazine. Talking to Rob Kenner today. Should be a very interesting conversation. First and foremost, it is you know, it's kind of bittersweet when you celebrate somebody that they were in their passing, but nevertheless, you're still celebrating them. We seen an outpouring of love to Nipsey and his situation yesterday, but you know, we should be pretty much celebrating what he does. You know what I mean, or what he did with instituting it. So still dope though, you know what I mean? One thing that the book really does is it almost talks to you as if, you know, you were watching Nipsey from the side and, you know, not really understanding, you know, what he was doing while he was doing it, right? So if you're from the side, you're looking, you're wondering why he was doing it, and then later on you kind of figured it out. Oh, this was the move. This was the play. Go Left Sports. What up, Nate? What's the drill? So listen, man, we're giving away two free books. What I think We Talking Magazine should do should be to the first 2 people. So that's probably Fit World Nation and Go Left Sports. You guys should get 2 free books. So let me know if it's a good read. It's very interesting. Approaches the book from Orlando. What up, Passion? What's the drill? We were giving away 2 free books to the first 2 people who came in. The Marathon Don't Stop. But it is what it is, you know what I mean? So you guys missed it by like, you know, 2 joints. But Fit World Nation, I'll let We Talking Magazine know, and Go Left Sports. The Marathon Don't Stop. We're talking to the author Rob Kenner. Ice, what up, champ? What's the verdict? And he's talking mainly from a perspective of an author that's, you know, covered hip hop for the longest. And, you know, it was so interesting. I didn't know his history and how long he's been, you know, side by side to what's been happening in hip hop and writing about it. So he came as, you know, somebody that I really didn't know, but you know, the boy done put in work. He been in the mix. So we're waiting for him now. Rob Kenner. One of the things that you know, I'll talk to y'all. One of the things that struck me about the book was, and I'll talk to Rob about it, is when they said that when Nipsey died, his album sales went up almost 3,000%. So now his homeboy, who was you know, doing beats for him and rocking with him since he was young, when all those sales come in, he got production on one of the beats, so his checks started coming in. You know what I mean? And it was kind of like he didn't, the money didn't come in the right way. The money felt almost dirty. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, let's suppose you're getting all this money and you buying a house, buying new cars. You're buying it in a celebration of his death. It's not even like, yo, I made it, because you and your man, you know, did this art together, and his death is what's getting it paid, not necessarily, you know, when he was alive and everybody loved the response. So that I never even thought about it that way. You know what I mean? The pain from that. You know what I mean? What could you do with the money? You know what I mean? You could set up his kids. You could set up, you know, his family. But for the most part, you could, you know, keep his philosophies alive, right? And that's why I mentioned that earlier. If something like that happens, if Nipsey dies and then the album's low and you produce the beat on there and then you get mad money and you feeling a certain way, you know, then you like, let me kind of represent what the man was. Now, if you don't know him and you just probably were hired to do a beat, you probably won't feel the same. Sil, what up, man? Sil, how we doing, man? How's the studio? You know, man, how's the new house, fam, and all that? You know what I mean? I know there's a studio in there, Sil. You gotta keep it real, man. I know there's a studio in there. But we talking about the book. The Marathon Don't Stop. Rob Kenner is supposed to join us here. We're trying to get involved. But yeah, that was kind of tough. Another thing too was, you know, it's obvious that, you know, how we rhyme and what we rhyming about, right? So there were lines when Nips was like, I'm the I'm the Tupac of this generation and stuff like that. And you know he meant that as probably a businessman or something. I doubt he meant it as a martyr, but that's the drill. We got Rob here. Let me get him in. Get to it. Bang. Let's rock out. Get this camera going. Hello. Rob, you hear me? Oh, we got the Wi-Fi.
What we doing?
We good.
I'm here. I'm live and living. What's happening, man?
Chilling. You in LA?
No, I'm right here in New York City right now.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Let's do it.
New York team on your cap right now.
There you go. New York versus New York. It's New York versus New York.
Yeah. Are you more Mets or Yankees guy?
I'm a Mets guy because of the colors.
Okay.
Right. The blue and orange. But I'm a Yankee fan because I pretty much live down the block. I'm in the Bronx.
Okay. So, oh wow. All right. So
I'm a Yankee guy.
These both get love.
There you go. Rob, thanks for taking the time, man.
I'm happy to be chopping it up with you. I appreciate the invite, and you know,
let's do it. And we talk a magazine and hip hop point of view. she said, Tilsa said that the first two people that logged on were going to get 2 free books. So there you go.
It looks like we got more than two, so I'm just glad you helping spread the word. And I want to say thanks for all the support. So,
Listen, man, it's a fabulous read. Um, uh, one of the things that I was saying earlier before you got on was, it's the perspective of the book is interesting because it's like you're walking side by side
mm,
and kind of like you're watching his life and you don't realize what's going on and why it's going on, but the book kind of unfolds that. So is that kind of how your vision of the book was supposed to play out?
yeah, I'm happy to hear that you feel like you're walking alongside Aaron asking on, because it definitely was my goal to make his life as human as possible, his journey as a young, as we know in any celebrity's life, there's the person on stage and then the person who lives their normal life with their family and their close friends and everything. In case of Hustle, I think he kept it more real than most in terms of not exact persona when he was making music. Like he was
Mm-hmm.
different. There's a difference between your public MC Hustle and the young man Aramis Ascom, and so to show the journey, that brought him from the first step toward trying to be a rapper. As you know from the book, he loved hip hop so much. Wanted to
Yeah.
be a child star. He heard that Chris record. It was like 7,
Mm.
but he wanted. He knew it. He had the ambition to do that. So, you
What,
know,
what,
the love of rap was what drove him. I think. Like he life like a quest to have the perfect studio and to create the conditions where he can make his art, and he finally achieved that. And
so I was looking at, when we were setting up the interview, they sent us your bio and stuff,
uh-huh.
and I was like, it always fascinates me, right? How, and this is what we do at Hip Hop Point of View, right? We're highlighting the positivity and global impact of hip hop, right? That's our main focus. That's our mission.
Yeah.
So one of the interesting things is like hip hop comes in so many different ways from all different areas of the planet. So it always fascinated me how there's a literary part of hip hop.
Right.
Right. There is an artistic part of hip hop, a dancing part of hip hop. So to hear you come up and get the literary part, right?
Mm.
Which is very important because it's these type of books that'll probably preserve the culture, teach the culture, right? And so the culture has to appreciate stuff like this. Now, what was your mindset when you told yourself, like, I don't know if there's any other books like this out already, but you were like, I was gonna be the first one, and
Yeah.
how are you gonna be received? Like, were you kind of like, I didn't grow up in this neighborhood. Should I do it? Will the family look at me funny? Like, what was any trepidations? What was your mindset?
I think, for me, the inspiration to write the book really came from conversation with Nipsey and realizing that, like the project that I'm like, he came up to do a review Victory Lab. I had met him 9 years previous when he was rolling out Bullets and Tape. And so I knew he was a special, we tapped in again, French project. But it was during the Victory Lab, I had to feel depth, realize like there is no way to tell this story a little short. You doing, it's too complicated. Got so many things that he's involved in, from business to his connection to his African roots, to
Yeah.
and all of the ways he inspired people. So I wanted to tell all of that, and I realized that there weren't been a lot of decent magazine profiles. Like, as important as Nipsey Hussle is to this culture, I think he's the most underrated artist, and especially in New York. To be, I don't think people in New York and big media, the radio, really got. So this book is my contribution to that understanding. My whole life just was on staff. I first launched, and I've been telling stories about different artists, but this was the most challenging and the most important, I think, of any project. Yeah, I felt proud. I knew it mattered to make this book everything that it was supposed to be and really represent hustle the right way.
Wow.
It's not a book as I don't portray it to be like official off on. This is not what this book is. It's a journalistic account of Nipsey Hussle's place in pop culture. As somebody who covered the life of Tupac and Big, they're great artists. Here, I felt like I have to just put context, goal with this book. I also, while I was writing, it took 3 years to write it. The last year writing through the whole 2020, between the pandemic, George Floyd, and the uprising, I felt like Nipsey's message is needed right now, and I really felt the right now, and so I'm very grateful that everybody embraced it so much, and a lot of reviews, and so much love on the project. It makes me feel very, very grateful, overwhelmed, actually.
Yeah, I like what you said about, like, it's needed right now. Well, one of the things you get from Nipsey is, taking care of self, taking care of local, taking care of community.
Yes.
Right.
Sure.
And if you can do that, that would really impact the world. So I can see what you're saying with that. But you have, and I know a lot of people don't know, you have a very steep background in covering hip hop, meeting a lot of hip hop icons and legends when you were working for Vibe magazine and things of that nature. How did you even get introduced to hip hop and then become such a big part of documenting? What was your introduction to hip hop?
First introduction to hip hop for me was hearing rappers like a lot of people that I didn't grow up in New York. I was in Baltimore. I was born in California, and then I moved to Baltimore with mom and dad, professor. And so I was in Baltimore and actually saw the music video to a Pat. That was the first like rap that I experienced, and I was like, "What is this?" And I blast from a whole other world. If you remember that video, they got the feathers on, and crazy. And I was mesmerized by that, And then over time, I went to school in Chicago. There was a big, and reggae. I was involved in that. This was during the and when I moved to New York, it was 1987. I started working at a record shop, around shooting videos around the corner from. I was very heavy in the reggae and dancehall world, and a lot of clubs. So, you know, I got to know like one, you know, some of the other like real grassroots DJs like Red Alert, Legendary Culture, you know, reached the world. And when I heard that Vibe was launched, I was actually working at the record shop on weekend day. I was assistant at an art magazine. I wanted to get writing stories. I guess my dream was like Rolling Stone. I thought that was a cool like magazine to tell stories about music, but I never. I heard about Quincy Jones magazine Vibe, and I was like, that is the one going to be more on hip hop. I bet they could do reggae. I pitched on Cat.
Did you think it was going to be that legendary? Did you think Vibe, the magazine, was going to be that legendary of a magazine?
You know, it's Quincy, it's Q. You know, it's the man that produced Thriller. It's the man that, you know, was like working with Count Basie and Frank Sinatra. To me, he never produced one issue. I was like, this is going to be it. I need to get down to. I started writing letters and envelope and sending them every week to the editor that said in the article I had with an editor. I just I wrote a letter. Hey, write a story. I think it's so important, and they let me do that. And now, if you guys ever saw the first issue of Vibe, that Treacherous cover from Naughty by Nature,
yeah.
So in that issue is my Supercat story, and I wasn't working at Vibe yet. I was just a test issue that year, just to see if people fucked with it. Because really, at the time, you know, this was a Time Inc. magazine, right? It was like major publishing. Jones convinced them to take a chance on rap. I remember hearing stuff from, do hip hop fans read? You know, is there really a market for a rap magazine? You know, the Source was doing its thing. But you know, I was done by a very large publishing company, and so that was a big look for the culture. Anyway, thank God they gave it the green light. I got the call, and they said, you know, people fuck with your super story. Want to come and work on the startup team? And so I was in there with people like Joan Morgan, Professor Morgan at NYU, Al, who's an activist, you know, author. Just, you know, a lot of the legends that worked at Vibe, I was there chopping it up with. You know, I ended up being the last standing. Like, I was there from the start of the magazine for 17 years because I just loved that. You know, I found my calling, and we told a lot of great stories. I worked on Vibe Books. I ended up like the head of Vibe Books. So we did the Biggie book, Unbelievable. They made the movie Notorious from that. Cheo Coker, shout out to Cheo Coker. He wrote the book, and he went on to write the screenplay and is now running at Amazon. You know, he did the Luke Cage thing on Netflix. You know. So I've been blessed to, you know, meet all these amazing people and work with them, tell some important stories. But I promise you, today, Nipsey Hussle to me is the most important. It goes beyond hip hop. It goes to so many areas of American life, you know, from civil rights, you know, business and entrepreneurship, and understanding, like, you know, what do we mean when we say gang? You know, this obviously, you know, a lot of people slept on Nip during his career. Those who were slightly aware of him and did.
I was one of them.
Yeah, it's no shame, but I'm just saying what people thought, or the superficial thing, their thought process was really in the street. He's really about that life. and things of that nature. And you know, when you got to know him and with him, you were struck by brilliant intelligence, someone that could build his own computer parts. You know, this is someone that educated everyone around, read books constantly, reading lists to all his friends, and had bookshelf studio. So like that doesn't really go with our image of a gangbanger. You know, like you don't think of gangster rapper. So I had to really understand and do my research and talk to people, get a better understanding. Like, what does it mean when you know, we now know about Proud Boys, right? Everybody's read about the Proud Boys. Tried to overthrow the government the other day. You know, they were there up in the U.S. Capitol trying to overturn the election results. You know, that's a gang. That's a dangerous. You know, Crips and Bloods never did that. You know?
Yeah.
So it's like, so when I did my history, I started to learn about there was a gang in L.A. called the Spook Hunters, and nobody tells you about that. You know, it's always like Boys in the Hood and gangster stuff. But like the Spook Hunters were white. They used to terrorize black kids in school and Mexican kids. You know, like if your family lived outside of the neighborhoods, like Spook Hunters would fuck with you, and they had jackets with a logo of a black person on the back of the jacket. You know, like these were racist gangs that had the support of the police. And so, of course, the black communities form their own organizations to protect themselves. You know, it's like these are the things that don't get talked about, and I think that he was very much aware of that and knew that history. He was very well educated himself. Go by just what school told him to read. He was exploring the truth, trying to find it. You know, I believe part of his decision process of why he got into culture was that he wanted to kind of return neighborhood groups back to their original purpose, bring them together and dividing them. And, you know, you saw it in the record FDT, a Crip and a Blood, you know, showing love to Mexicans as well, the SAs, you know, and like just streets at a time when Donald Trump divided the country. You know, so I think that was a uniter and not a divider.
You mentioned in the book how, and I didn't know this, that Jay-Z had bought spent $10,000 on that album that he was selling for $100.
Crenshaw.
Yeah, the $100 album. And now, do you think, because you did mention he was widely slept on, and you know, I'm from New York, very into, you know, rap as a whole or hip hop as a whole, but you know, we're in New York. You focus on New York.
Sure, of course.
So, you know, Jay is from New York, but he's buying, you know, an LA album for $100 and spends $10,000 on it. Do you think that was kind of like the official coming out party for Nipsey, or do you feel like the album would have gained that same traction without that?
Well, I think his fans love him so much that they lined up all around the block West Hollywood when he did that first Crenshaw pop-up shop. You know, those people that lined up had no idea. You know, Jay wired the money all on one night. So Jay wired $10,000 and received 100 CDs, but the other $90,000 came from people lining up around the block. And I'm pretty sure if Jay didn't get those 100 CDs, he would not have gone claim. You know?
Wow.
The fact that Jay publicly braced Nipsey was huge, and you know, Nipsey told that when he spoke that once Jay tapped in, everybody became a believer. Because you know, before the thing works, everybody thinks, oh, you're crazy. who's going to spend $100 for a CD? We can download it for free. Why would we do that? But Nipsey understood that he had a hardcore fan base that much that they were proud to pay, called the campaign. They would be the first to support, and they want to have access to like a concert that no one else can go to, and that's part of the brilliance of this idea. To be honest, Nipsey's idea has been basically co-opted by they thought it was crazy then, but now that's how Justin Bieber and Taylor Swift sell their records. Exact same that Nipsey invented. They call it a bundle. So you buy an edition copy, and you get maybe some merch and tickets to a concert. $500. I mean, Nipsey did another album for $1,000.
Really?
He stepped it up. Why wouldn't he? He understood the game level.
Wow. Now, whoever listens to Nipsey's album, right? And I caught some of his work, some of the mixtapes and stuff like that. But to me, his interviews,
I know,
were way more insightful than his albums. You know what I mean? He was almost like, it was almost like watching lectures.
Yeah.
When he spoke. And it's almost like the albums, the music, it was almost stifling. Like he was restricted.
Yeah.
But when he spoke to someone, you kind of heard all of his knowledge, a lot of his viewpoints. You got to understand, why he thought the way he did. And but it also did, like, the interviews made me listen to the album differently, right? The interviews made you listen to the music differently because you're trying to listen for his principles in there. Now, did you get while you were doing your research, did you get the feeling that these principles were pretty much inveterated very early, or they were as the years were coming along, he was finding out what type of person he was?
I think a lot of it was there from the beginning. Like he was, he talked about in an environment, in his neighborhood, in Los Angeles, there were people, entrepreneurs everywhere on every corner, whether it was the guy selling on the table or, brothers selling the Final Call newspaper. Like he's that entrepreneurial drive. And you remember there's a part in the book that talks about he wanted to get a job. He was applying to Taco Bell and he was too young. He wanted to buy fresh gear to go back to school. But, would give him a job. So he finally found a shine place where he could work as a really young man and get it. And he was also had a side hustle. He was selling candy while he was. So this young man early, and a lot of it came from older brother Sam, who was just a beast on marketing, such a visionary in terms of how to build a business and really run something up from the ground up. But having said that, you could also watch the growth of Nipsey over time. If you look at the interviews on YouTube. And as you say, they are so powerful. They are all worth. I have tried everyone to find. I learned very quickly that you can't skip any. Like, even though we're talking about the same types of things, he always adds some new information. And you can definitely see from the young Nipsey, like certain opinions change and knowledge new to him, and he grows and matures. Like some of the people who have been, I've been doing a few interviews over the last week because the stop was published on the 23rd. And I've had a chance to talk with a lot of different people. Some people are comparing Nipsey to Malcolm X now. Like, Detroit Red was the early days of Malcolm, and then he became more confident became more of an activist leader, and eventually made that trip to Mecca that expanded his horizons. And I think Nipsey's trip to Eritrea with his father and his brother had a similar impact on different. He said to me that was a life is going to Eritrea for the first time. So there's a lot of parallels. You can definitely see his growth just in a roundabout way. I'm talking 400 pages in the book. A lot of
Yeah, and
get some of
I,
it.
I can agree with that. I could definitely agree with those parallels, especially with the the beginnings being so complicated, and then making sure you change that complicated to a more stable life, and then, as we know with Malcolm, willing to do it for his people, willing to do it for his community,
Yep.
and put his life on the line, becoming a martyr. But there was something in the book that struck me with his boy getting the money from almost the 3,000 the 2,000% increase in sales.
Oh yeah.
Once he died, which to me was such a, like, it's so bittersweet. You know what I mean? Like, your boy is dying, so now I'm living my life. It almost, you don't even know what to do with that money. You can't even enjoy it the way you're supposed to. And if it was up to me, a lot of that money would be dedicated to, like, his memory, or foundations, or assisting the next Nipsey that's coming up with their vision.
Right.
Like, that would be the if you're spiritual, that would be the cause and sign to do that.
Right.
With that type of money. So that's my opinion with that. But
yeah, Rallo said, you're talking about Rallo Styles, who was
yeah,
a high school classmate, and they made together his entire career. He had production credits on Victory, like, tapes like Marathon. And the thing with that, he says that he was like a negative influence in his life. Like, he would be so sad, like he would just blow the money on something just because it just fucked with his head. I don't know, man. I can't imagine walking. I've tried to just show the human side of Nipsey and his family, as well as all the people who were touched by his. And I just want to mention that about I have made a decision to Nipsey family, as well as the Nipsey encouraging, inspiring, his section of Angeles. So, not because of the deal or out of respect. So, I definitely agree with that.
that's deep. Now, the as I'm looking at the chapters, All In, the Eritrea, Slauson Boy, Higher and Higher, Too Big to Fail. Will you give us the secret sauce on how you develop chapters, and what made you kind of organize it the way it was, where, like, I'm gonna just throw his almost his Mecca back to home in there.
Right.
I'm gonna throw the crew, what the crew was about. I'm gonna talk about where he was from.
Right.
What was your secret sauce in organizing the book?
It's mostly chronological. It's mostly just in the order of his life. But the very, very beginning, one of the things that I said in every interview, that this book, Marathon Don't Stop, is a triumph. I don't want it to be dwelling on the sad part of the story, and get to the whole conspiracy theories and who you know, like a leak story. Not that. My inspiration to do this book was before he passed, and on March 31st, just today, you know, rest in peace. Us, you know, I didn't want to make the book about that. You know, having said that, though, there was nowhere else that I could think to begin at the Staples Center, that celebration of life, you know, with Lauren London, his life, walking to the podium. I just thought the whole world, you know, and people that weren't paying attention, see a lot of them at that exact moment. So I thought it was right to open the book there, show a glimpse of all the love, and then, you know, in the intro, I back up how I first met him. That story of him coming up to Vibe.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, so this is who I am and why I'm writing the book. So that's what the basically is about. And then everything else is pretty much, you know, a journey through life, starting like being before he's born, actually, you know, because I wanted to show Aramis Ascadon in the context of his hip hop history. I had to tell, like I was saying before, how the history of Black people, the history of, you know, what is when we hear about the great South, what that mean, you know? That's a gated neighborhood that was set by the government, that Black families in that section, and it became a cultural mecca itself. But when you limit people and so in and they can only live in this one area, causes unfair situations, and then like a gang, the spook hunters and people like that were, you know, terrorizing Black families. You know, all that history was laid out. So you'll see, like in the early chapters, there is a lot of history and a lot of background, but I want young people that pick this book up to be informed about that, because something I didn't know. A lot of it I researched while working on the book. And I want people of Nipsey or want to know about an inspirational figure to also learn what were the forces he was up against. Why was it so important for him to buy property? Why is it so important to own in the Crenshaw district? What is you know, all that stuff. I'm trying to really in the book.
Yeah, it made me, you know, reevaluate what I was doing. You know, how impactful is my influence or my internal power. You know what I mean? How did say it again?
That's great to hear. I'm so happy to hear that.
Yeah, and you know, I have to say I am one of those that, you know, tapped in afterwards. You know what I mean? After, seeing his interviews prior to his to his untimely death was definitely, you know, intriguing.
Mm-hmm.
But afterwards, you know, he made me tap in, like, you know, let me listen, let me see what's going on. You know, if I see his interview pop up across my timeline, I'm gonna take my time to listen to it.
Yeah.
And kind of, you know, follow what he's talking about. How did he change your life? Have you taken any of the things that you've learned about him and kind of instituted it immediately?
110%, and that's really part of the experience. That
He's my spiritual. Nipsey is my spiritual. Rob said Nipsey is my spiritual guide right now.
I mean, I don't want to over dramatize it or anything, but it is not an exaggeration to say that he changed the way I think about my life. You just said I relate, and you're not the only person I've heard say that. Like, there's people that had one conversation with him. You know, there's just people that, you know, you can all the time. And some interviews are different. You just feel you're talking to someone, tapped into something that's going to, you know, give you new insight. And so for me, speaking with Nipsey, talking about the rap game also made me think about being a journalist or, a creative person. And one of the things that he's, the rules of this game that we were not made by creators. The rules were not made by musicians. They're not. If the rules were made by, they would be way different because
Absolutely.
they'd be more fair. They'd be more equitable. But no, they were made by business-minded people that, look, everyone loves music, and these musicians love it. They're going to make it regardless. So let's set up as much money for us and gives them just enough to keep showing up. And, they're just going to be happy to be, doing love, and they don't need to own their own work, So Nip rejected that. He was smart enough and read books about business, read books about people that have had innovative ideas about how to empower themselves. And when I heard Nip was a person, he would ask you what you know what I mean? Like, he would share every bit of knowledge that he had, and he wanted people to apply the game. He said one of the last interview around Victory Lab, I respect the fact that you're always your moves with the public. Oh, they can apply it to their life. And I'm not outside giving out back, but the game. And if I was a kid, that's all I would ever want. Give us the game. You don't have to give us all. Let us know the game so that we can, have a chance. Of course, as a hustler, you're thorough and actually nervous to give a young person coming up. Otherwise, you're hating on them.
Yeah.
So this is my way of passing the game. I soaked up and then I researched more. The Marathon Don't Stop is my passing that as possible.
The title definitely encapsulates that, right? The Marathon Don't Stop. It definitely like lets you know that you're gonna be tired. You're gonna have to train for a long journey.
Yep.
But when you get it, when you get to the end of it, whether you get your results or not, you still can't take away the discipline, the training, and what you've done, right? So because there's only one winner in the marathon, right? That we know it, but I'm pretty sure everybody who runs it feels accomplished. You know what I mean? Because that's why you always hear people training for the marathon, and they're not really runners. You know what I mean? But they understand it's such an accomplishment. So I did. A friend of mine, we went. A couple of my friends, we went down there to kind of like see, the store and the area. And it became interesting to me how like the area that he lived and was repping for became almost like a spiritual tourist attraction.
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, no doubt.
Right there in the hood, you know what I mean? And we were like, it's just it was kind of bugged out. Like it's not his impact over there just completely changed how people see that neighborhood.
Oh yeah.
All across the world. So I'm pretty sure people are driving through there and stopping by there. And I wouldn't be surprised if sooner or later, tour buses, when COVID is over, won't be stopping there. Like, this is, where Nipsey Hussle, started a lot of his entrepreneurial. So it gives a lot of insight to how some areas can be looked at as the gutter, the ghetto, but another person will see it as, you know, the most potential,
Right.
uplifting, and you kind of caught that in the book, how someone had mentioned like he saw potential, how I think the city councilman said, or
Yeah.
Barack said, yeah, Barack said he saw the potential. He didn't see, you know, what the neighborhood was being talked about in the news. He saw potential.
Yep.
He saw empowerment. He saw financial freedom
Yep.
in that same neighborhood that they tell you is nothing there.
Right.
So that was very deep. Now,
even the kid, do you remember there was a young man who went to a school across the street, across the store, and it was a school for kids, you know, that had kids were going to go to college, you know, have a lot of opportunities, but they were in so inspired. Nipsey standing in that parking lot. Talk to me about that. Growing up, it's fine that you got it, but have you actually seen young black men in this neighborhood, you know? And just Ermias and lost later the Marathon Clothing parking lot in the high school. You know, he said this. He said, you know, it was a little scary walking in that parking lot. I wanted so bad, but like you could get robbed just. And Nip was the one that would protect you if you wanted to come anybody from messing.
Yeah, that's deep.
You know, and it's like these are the things that need to be said because you know everybody just sticks with these superficial rap. You know, there is some truth to the obviously a lot of negatives that come with the life. Was deem it and show another side. You know, God knows so much, and that's what the title of the book. That work has, you know, the work.
Fantastic, man. Congratulations, Rob Kenner. The Marathon Don't Stop. Where can they get it at, Rob?
It's everywhere, man. There's a link in my Instagram bio. If you find it, I encourage everybody to local book, buy from the shop. But if not, you can download it on a lot of different audio books, and then you know, Barnes and Noble. The link in my bio, and all the links are there. And some of the I've done very cool conversations, like who did that first interview. You ever seen that interview that did, right, talking about all this stuff when he was a young dude? Heard of him. Hip hop journalist Dave happened to interview him. Anyway, there's so much to say about this man, but I'm happy to chop it up on your spread the word. I do think the world to understand it, carry it on. But like I said before, divided country, a divided world, too many and poor and rich, but trying to bring together. That is important. And I want to book inspire more people.
And I gotta say, from We Talking Magazine, the CEO of We Talking Magazine, Tilsa, she found out about Nipsey through probably the victory lap success, and then once you know once his death happened, the tragedy happened, we started hearing so much about what he's done and how much he influenced his neighborhood and how he made all these strides. So she became like the ultimate fan. So she has her magazine. She has like a Nipsey tribute.
I saw it.
Yeah.
Or keeping it going. So hip hop point of view, we talking is your separate platform working.
Yeah, we are separate platforms, but we've been I knew her since about like 2015. So we've been working together all this time, and she's, I support her. She's very I would say fanatical. When she latches on to something that's really powerful, and Nipsey was that. And when she caught that, she was like, and I saw her, I saw you with the book going through the timeline, and
Yeah.
I told her, tap in, because she was so fanatical about it, and she almost lost her mind. She was like, there's a book. He wrote a book. Da da da. She wanted. She was like, I need the book before the interview. So she was, and you guys, thank you for sending one as well. So she was fanatical about Nipsey, so this was right up her alley. And we support anything positive, anything highlighting what the hip hop culture is doing. So again, congratulations, Rob Kenner.
Thank you so much.
The marathon don't stop. Let us know about any. Do you have so for the audio book? Who's doing the voice?
A professional actor who I had not, heard of his work before, but when the publisher selected him, they sent me examples of his work, and I was like, he'll be dope. And I think he did an amazing job. It's crazy words that I learned very of a real feeling. I think
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. It would be a professor to do his audio voice for the book. So yes.
Let me tell you, I haven't said this to many people yet, but I heard that how first I learned that I was so overwhelmed with earlier. I tried to write, it would educate young people that learn the world, one great art, inspirational person. So it's an idea to see this book that amazing to me. So,
Yeah, I already see a curriculum. I like the way you put the verses to start some of the chapters. So me being in the school system, I understand how that is important with our generation, and explaining things and having them latch on to the to the literature, right? Making it a little bit more engaging. So this is dope, man. Rob Kenner, is there any way to contact you? You on all social medias, Rob
yeah,
J. Kenner? Rob?
we're responding to every DM on Instagram.
Okay.
So just hit my at Robert J. At the website robertjkenner.com. We're having the everybody that supports. We're reposting your so I feel like there was like overwhelming this first week. All from Good Morning America to hip hop point of view, like people are just supporting. I'm very humble.
Much needed, much needed. I'm looking for a series, Rob. I'm looking for other books just like this. You know what I mean? Of people that are impactful to the hip hop culture. You know what I mean? Before they go, you know how life is.
Right.
We can catch some of these. That'll be great.
Well,
But hip hop point of view, We Talking Magazine, Rob Kenner, we appreciate you. Listen, let us know anything you need. We're here to tap in.
I appreciate that a lot, man. Just much love to everybody on the live and everyone supporting Marathon Stop. And I will keep you all updated. there will be more work in the future, but right now this is the focus. Gotta
And shout to the two people who won the book, right?
yeah,
The
that's
two,
right. Big
yeah,
DM
yeah.
me.
Two of the say it again.
No, tell them to DM me, and I will send them what's called a book plate. So it's like my signature, and you can put it right in the book. You know, because
Oh, okay.
book signing.
Definitely.
You know,
Go Left Sports Fit World Nation. They
yeah.
won. They won. They're gonna get that from We Talking Magazine, Rob Kenner.
Yep.
And I'll have the DM. Dope.
All right.
All right.
Again, big respect to everybody on the live. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak on your platform, and keep it going. Long live Nipsey Hussle.
Absolutely. Marathon don't stop.
That's what it is, man.
Marathon don't stop. Have a good one.
All right, you too. Peace.